Hello students, this is about the online lecture series on our syllabus, and today's topic is a poem written by William Shakespeare. The title of the poem is The Seven Ages of Man. This is prescribed in BA Part 1st, Paper 1st of English Literature. So, here we go. So this poem, The Seven Ages of Man, it also known as All the World Stays. So it is a kind of dialogue from the English playwright William Shakespeare's comedy As You Like It. And actually this dialogue takes place in scene 7th of Act 2nd, where there is a character named Jacques, and he is a very funny character. Actually, he is a kind of dreamy philosopher, and here this Jacques is talking to Duke Senior and Orlando. These are two other characters in the same play. In Forest of Arden, they are having a dialogue, and so before Duke Senior, Jacques confesses that he and his men are alone and unhappy. So whereas the whole world is full of joy. So this poem, The Seven Ages of Man, is a kind of reply by Jacques to Duke Senior. So the purpose of his reply is partly to console the sad Duke Senior, and because he is in exile in the Forest of Arden, and he is very sad. So the purpose is partly to console the sad Duke, as well as partly to tell the audience of the play that unhappiness is a part of our human life, and that we all go through certain stages of life. So this particular extract is also regarded as the character's comment on the futility of a human life. So this is all about the background of this poem, and now we will move ahead with the text of this poem. Okay, with proceeding with the line by line explanation of this poem. The first very famous line of this poem is all the world stays. So actually this is a very famous and often quoted line throughout the literature, that this line has many implications. So here Shakespeare is comparing the world to a stage which must have naturally appealed to him since he was a playwright. So the idea of the world as a stage also around before Shakespeare, and because he is himself a dramatist, he himself is an actor, a player, a director. So this idea particularly appealed to the poet, that so he finds a similarity between the world and stage, as in the stage is full of action just like the world. So next line is like this: all men and women are merely players. So here Shakespeare says that all men and women are actors on the stage of the world in the play of a life. So here a human's life is itself a play, and the whole world is just like a stage. So the words merely, here the words merely, it tells us that he regards a singular human life very small and inconsequential in the grand expanse of the world. It also alludes to the writer's belief in some kind of world order, maybe nature or nature's God, before which we all are trivial beings. We all human beings are just like a trivial beings we observe a feeling of vanity and existential crisis in a character's voice. So we all are merely players. Next, moving ahead, the next line is just like they have their exits and entrances. So here the speaker is talking about life and death of a person's life, that as in a person's life, where at a particular time he is born, and a particular time of his life he also faces death. So these things, life and death, these are inevitable. So what we should pay attention to here is that the plural form of the words exits and entrances. So speaker actually he is not talking only about life and death. He is also talking about human relationships as well. That people come and go in our lives. So we have so many relations, and thus how relations are made in our life. So relations are made, they are broken and re-established. So this is how our human life. So further, what is truly noteworthy point is here that the speaker puts exists and exists before entrances, which gives off the somber or a kind of serious mood of the character and the scene in general. So we have life and death in our. So with this, moving ahead, the next line is just like, and one man in his time plays many parts, his acts being 7 ages. So here he says, the speaker says that we have different roles which we have to play in throughout our entire life. That we play in life as a child, the role of a child, the role of a parent, the role of a sibling, a spouse, a husband, a brother, and a professional, so etc. So these are various kind of roles which we have to play. So the person plays these several parts, and these are stretched over 7 acts, which are 7 different ages. So we see that here the poet talks about 7 kinds of phases in a man's life, and in coming lines he will talk exclusively on each particular stage of man's life. Here we move ahead. At first, the infant mewing and puking in the nurse's arms. So at first, the infant. So the first stage of life is birth, is that of an infant. So all life begins with birth. When a child is born, it is completely oblivious to the cares of the world. He is totally unaware what is happening all around him or her. So infants, they don't do much. They are dependent on their mothers, their caretakers. So the line expresses the same thing, that mewing and pecking in the nurse's arms means the infants are dependent on their mother and caretaker. So we see that speaker establishes the first stage of life as the stage of dependency, infancy. So infants have no other way of calling out other than their cry. They indulge in crying, vomiting. They cannot eat. They are totally dependent on their mother's milk. So here this is the first stage of a person's life. Now this first stage is extended to the second stage of a human life, which is all about the childhood. The textual lines are like this. Then the winning schoolboy, with his kettle and shining morning face, creeping like snail unwillingly to school. So, the infant, when he grows into a child, he no longer needs the complete attention of his parents and other custodians. And when the parents send him to school to educate him in the ways of the world, the infant uh, who till now who has only seen the love and adoration from his immediate environment, from his family, when he uh, move ahead, he becomes a child, then uh, he the parents, when they make him to force him to go to school, they dress him in the school uniform and give him a satchel and make him ready for school. So this little child, however, is unwilling to go to school. So the description of the second stage of a person's life is like a generalization by the speaker, by the writer, that like an ordinary child, here this boy is also feeling a kind of hesitation, feeling apprehensive going school. So he doesn't want to go to school. So this kind is happening. And now moving ahead, the poet, he will talk about the next third stage of a man's life. The textual lines are like this: and then the lover, sighing like furnace, with a woeful ballad made to his mistress eyebrow. So next stage is the third stage, is all about the age of educated youth, who is in the height of his teenage, who is also in his adolescence, we can say he is an adult, and in his this age, the child now waves the dreams of love. So he is in his teenage and he witnesses new changes in his mind, in his body, and he feels differently than he has done before. So his heart, now his heart is set on love, and he tries to influence his mistress or beloved. So he writes songs, he sings sad ballads, romantic songs for his mistress, and he talks about the beauty of his beloved. Okay, so the lover, for the lover, the whole world is all about roses, blossom kind of things. So he sees beauty. He in this age, he sees beauty in every aspect of life. So this is the period in a person's life when he witnesses beauty and the feeling of amorous love and infatuation. So actually he gets infatuated towards his mistress. So this is all about his third age. Now moving ahead, the fourth age of a person's life is all about youth, who is totally committed to a particular goal of his life. The textual lines are like this, I am reading. Then a soldier, full of strange oaths and bearded like the part, jealous in honor, sudden and quick in quarrel, seeking the bubble reputation even in the cannon's mouth. So next stage is that of a young soldier, a young soldier, the tender lover about whom we talked about in the third stage. So that tender lover slowly transforms into a soldier a soldier who is in the battlefield of life, and a soldier who takes up strange oaths and honor. He is very much committed to his adventurous life. He even not gets hesitate to sacrifice his own life. So here the speaker says that a soldier is bearded like a panther. A part means a panther. What does it suggest? It suggests that he is full of courage. He is courageous and full of vigor, with a never back down kind of attitude. So these soldiers, they jealously protect their honor, and they don't hesitate to quarrel in proving their point. So at this stage of life, at this fourth stage of life, being a soldier, honor and reputation are very valuable to them, to the soldiers. So they will ever prefer to death to guard their reputation. So this age is marked with courage and vigor, and is the stage of life when a youth becomes a man. So next is the lines in which poet talks about the fifth stage of a man's life. That actual lines are like this. Here we go. And then the justice in fair round belly, with good capum light, with eyes severe and beard of formal cut, full of wise saws and modern instances, and so he plays his part. So after the soldier, yani then the means the soldier, as he in this stage he enters in his middle age. So this age is seen as a kind of passing judgment. So in this age he becomes more mature, more judgmental, and he passes judgments and protects the people with the law and order. So this is again a kind of generalization, the professions chosen by the people. So here the word justice actually shows the kind of profession that person chooses. So the justice is shown as round bellied, well-to-do man eating chicken, with the speaker humorously says is lined that his belly in the form of fat. His eyes are severe, and his beard is of a formal cut. So it suggests that his looks actually suggest the stern nature of this middle-aged person. So he is full of wisdom, modern examples when they are relevant. He carries about his role or his part by imparting knowledge and carrying out the duty of justice. So this is all about his fifth stage. Now the next stage is the sixth age of man. The lines are like this. The sixth age shifts into the lean and slipper pantaloon, with spectacles on nose and paws on side. His youthful horse will save the world to wide. For his strong shank and his big manly voice, turning again to our childish treble, pipes and whistles in his sound. The sixth age, according to the speaker, the sixth age is the entry of the middle-aged man into senescence. Senescence means old age. So the person progressively becomes lean, more fragile, more frail, weak, and he looks like an old fool. The word pantaloon suggests that he looks like an old fool in his ragged slippers. So the old age comes with the gradual weakening of the senses. So an old man, he is often seen wearing corrective glasses and pouch on their side to carry their items. So actually here the speaker also makes a humorous comment that the person's shrunken bottom saves a wide space for his equally shrunken legs in his hose. Means the person who becomes slim and lank. So his once roaring manly voice of that soldier, now that manly voice, that authoritative voice of the justice, it reduces in pitch and volume, becoming something akin to childish treble, whistling, childlike whistling, trebling in fumble voice. We can say his voice whistles as he talks, and we see the effect of time and age upon a person. So this is all about this sixth stage. Now moving ahead, the poet talks about here about the last seventh stage of person's life. The textual lines are like this: last scene of all that ends this strange eventful history, his second childishness and mere oblivion, sense taste, sense size, sense taste, sense everything. Here the speaker talks about the last of the age, that is something leading into the finality of death. The speaker calls it the last scene of all in the play of the person's life on the stage of the world. So we see a continuation of the metaphor developed in the former lines of the dialogue in this final section. So Shakespeare actually calls this journey of a person through the seven ages a strange and eventful history. That he describes this final stage of life as a second childishness, where the person enters into oblivion. He becomes totally oblivion regarding all surrounding things. So because at this stage he loses control of all his senses, the loss of all senses, and the person actually is left with nothing, because we see that in this stage a return to dependency on others. So this final line that talks about the without everything, means nothing. It is actually a kind of characteristics line. It represents the negative aspect of life, and it can be related to biblical references also. So actually it is argued that Shakespeare chose the 7 stages of life to mimic the biblical references to the 7 deadly sins. As we are familiar that there are 7 deadly sins which have been talked about in Bible and other texts also. So these are just like regarded as an experience of hellish life. So from this character Jacques' philosophical soliloquy, we witness a journey from infancy to infirmity through the 7 ages of man. Means he moves, he experiences certain changes in life, and he has to face even each and every person on this planet. He has to face all these different kinds of phases, and we have to accept the changes in our life. We cannot avoid anything. We have to accept, and we have to experience. So this is the kind of ultimate truth which the poet here talks about, and this is all about this whole poem. Now with this, I hope that you must have understood this, and we will talk about the overall theme and stylistic features of this poem in our next lecture. Hope you will enjoy this lecture. So thank you to all of you.